Today we're going to talk about how to make paternity test mandatory. Now, why would we want them mandatory? Well, let's agree that fraud is wrong, guys, and truth is really what we're after.
Yes.
So it's like lying to somebody to see if they're their child or not. I think it's one of the biggest wrong things you can do. So
Yeah, and then without any consequences.
right. So a men, or what they really are doing is they're getting swindled, getting scammed, betrayed, and ripped off. So let's get into it. What are some of the statistics about raising a kid that they don't know it's theirs? So this is called paternity fraud. So it's where the guy is raising a kid that's not his
Biologically.
and there's most likely the woman knows. So there's some exceptions where she doesn't know, but we'll get into those. Some of the statistics are court order tests. When they have the court order test, 11 to 12% are not biological daddies. So that's when the court orders the test. So this is not counting of the free public. A lot of people don't even volunteer the test, so we don't know those statistics.
Yeah, that's only what's documented, right?
That's fine. When they order. So like say California, they have 14% of child support are paid not by their biological father. So that's 14% that goes over there. So remember that you got to take this in consideration of human behavior. So remember that stats are heavily influenced by advantage behavior. So people are going to move towards where they have an advantage. So this promotes that people that are like women that are pretty certain that their kids is there, they're going to be like, yeah, go ahead and get tested. No problem. So therefore, we're going to have more tests that actually probably show that the men are the biological father. Because if the woman has nothing to hide and she knows it, she doesn't have anything to go against it.
No.
So they're
Other than, like,
promoted
her feelings,
to actually
but
do it.
yeah.
That's one. When she knows that she has them. But on the other side, when they're not, they're going to fight tooth and nail not to get tested. So they're going to do whatever they can not to get tested. So that's where we get all these statistics all kind of bound up. So the people, there's more advantage not getting tested when there is a possibility that the woman knows that she's not
Being truthful.
not being truthful. So she's going to do all kinds of things. Believe me. When
there's
girls
any
get caught,
increment-
they do anything. They try to blame it on the guy. They try to do anything. What do they do? What do they say? You don't trust me?
Oh, yeah.
How could you think that? They'll just shame you and guilt you as much as you can so you don't do the behavior. So how many women do you think are successful? A lot of them. How do a lot of them avoid
the
it?
women too, like even if there's like that slight uncertainty, even if they're mostly sure, they're gonna fight it. But even then, you get the women with their hormones or whatever, and even if they are 100% sure, they're still gonna put up maybe a little bit of a fight because you're attacking their ego. You're like, what do you mean? You don't trust me? What do you mean? That
They're sweating bullets.
They're like, yeah, it's yours, and they're pissed off, but at the same time, it's like the poor guy is like, well, I just need to make sure. And that's when most men kind of, when they have suspicions, or whether they have or not, like if they don't have suspicions, they go and get the child tested anyways, but they just do it behind their mom's back. We know a few people that have done that.
Exactly. So what are some court procedures that happen so that our audience knows what are some of the realities of court procedures?
So the average time frame to like get your paternity tested so that you have actionable like defense so that you can...
So there's a window.
There is a window.
Okay.
And it's typically on average between 1 to 2 years. But
After they're born?
After they're born. But it depends on the state because it could be shorter or it could be longer.
So just assume they're short. What's the shortest?
So according to this, the research, it was typically around 1 year. Was like the shortest that you have to kind of, what is it? Not debate, but to
Contest it.
contest. Yes, that's the word.
Or you have to find out.
So if there's any uncertainty before you have a chance to get the child tested, do not sign the birth certificate. Do not let her put your name on there, because if your name is on the birth certificate, the court will assume you to be the legal father, especially if you and the girl are married. So whether...
So wait a minute, the girl gets paid So to fake it until she makes it, and that window's that short on the birth certificate?
Pretty much. So if like let's say if we were married and I was giving birth and I put you down as the biological father, and I mostly thought it was you, but I knew there was a slim chance that it could be someone else.
Or even if you didn't know.
Whatever. But the point is that if I put you down, if you ever go to court and let's say it's not within that time frame, most likely you're going to have to pay child support.
So whether you know or not, it doesn't make a
It doesn't
difference. It's
matter.
what you decide. Okay.
Pretty much.
Okay.
That's part of it.
So it's part of the window.
And also because the longer the window goes on, the more you act like a father to the child. So the more you act like a father, the more it shows the court that you're a willing participant.
So wait a minute. You get hired by actor?
Hired by actor?
Yeah, like if you're acting the part, you get the job?
Pretty much.
And the responsibility?
Pretty much.
Sounds like bullshit to me.
Because and then get this. So if you're legally married and you are there during the time of the conception and the birth, you're technically considered the legal father as well. So let's say she steps out on the marriage.
You're guilty by association.
Pretty much. You still have almost the financial responsibility of having to pay child support if you get divorced. Even if she stepped out during the marriage and you can prove that the child is not yours.
So wait a minute. If you're married to the woman and she stepped out, got pregnant, and had the kid while she's still married to you, you are held responsible.
Correct.
Wow. Women are not held accountable at all.
No, there's no repercussions. And so then, let's say by the time it comes around, you've had the paternity test, you're already divorced, and you've already made child support payments, and then you find out that the child isn't yours. You have to go to court. You're going to pay the court fees. Then you have to prove that you're actually up to date on the child support payments to this child.
That is not yours.
That's not yours.
And then you've proven that it's not yours.
And now you're proving that it's not yours.
You still have to pay.
Well, the thing is, though, is that they don't talk about any reimbursement back to the dad.
So you have to pay up to date, but no reimbursement.
Most likely you're not going to be reimbursed.
Wow.
And on top of that, if you're deemed like a better option for the child, because it's always the child's best interest. So if you're deemed the better option over the biological dad, then the court may also be more inclined to hold you responsible for child support.
So when you're more responsible, you're punished. Because if you're a good citizen and you're responsible and you take care of shit, you get the responsibility instead of somebody else that's supposed to be responsible. Ay.
Yep.
So this is the court.
So this is the court. The court, this is
not on your side, guys.
No, they are mostly finding favor in the women and on the children's behest at your expense. And it almost seems that it's nearly impossible to really, even if you prove that you are not the biological father, you are still most likely going to be financially responsible for the child support if you had any sort of interaction with this child after, even during like conception, like just being with the mother while she's pregnant. It's like you're holding yourself to a potential downfall.
Well, we might all be thinking, it's like, man, not even get into this jam in the first place, but you know, we're human beings. Our driven behavior is to really mate, to reproduce. So it's kind of like we have some countermeasures to go against this. Let's talk about first, why do women do this whole thing? Now you might think, well, it's just financial gains, or women are evil, or they're just taking advantage, or so there is some natural tendencies, there is some human nature, and then there's some evilness. But let's go through them. So some of the incentive is a lot of women do not like to say who the real father was because they like to hide previous relationships. So some of the reasons they like to hide previous relationships is because they might be cheating. So they don't want to get caught. That's one of them.
Right.
Another big one that a lot of people don't think about is the shame that it comes with it, with getting involved with some other relationships. So you're like, okay, they get caught cheating, but it's not necessarily cheating. It's sometimes
it's who they're cheating with.
They have arrangements, or they have a sexual relationship with the person. So the person could be someone of a low status. So it could be like a one-night stand, some random person. Some other that it's trend, especially with mixed families, is the step
Sibling,
siblings or the step
brother.
brother or sister. So sometimes a mom is getting her busy with a step son, or the daughter is getting busy with a step brother
Or stepfather.
or stepfather. So family sometimes even. Maybe they're messing around with their cousin. You know, it's like a lot of that stuff is not.
It goes
It's
on.
not
but it's
talked
not
about, but that's sometimes what it is. It's not necessarily that they were messing around. It's just who they were messing around with.
Right.
That's one of them. Sometimes they're messing around with people's husband, their friends, you know, husband or stuff like that, or some people they even mess with, you know, the pool boy, the landscaping guy, the the security guard, you know, some people like that. So they're messing around. Sometimes they make a wrong choice and bam, they got pregnant. So those are sometimes they hide those things because they don't want to reveal.
Oh,
those
another
things.
one too, I think that happens, I think a little bit more often than we recognize is that couples tend to split up, get back together, split up, get back together. So, and let's say you guys are having a sexual relationship and then for 2 weeks you guys split up before you get back together and she has, let's say, a one night stand or a little fling. She's like, well, that's not enough time. And then she gets back together with you and then she's pregnant. She's like, well, I was sexual with him before. I had a one night stand and I'm sexual with him now. Probabilistically, it's probably my boyfriend.
So that's another one.
So
Sometimes
it's
they're
like-
confused.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're confused because they have promiscuous behavior. So that's another one. Another one that people have shame is sometimes they're with somebody of a big age gap. So sometimes they're sleeping around with somebody way younger. They could be even a minor. So those are some of the reasons that they hide that. So
Yeah.
social stigma kind of deal.
Sure.
The big one is the financial gain. The reason that they do paternity fraud is because they'll rather pick the richer man or the more responsible man, like you said.
The one that has the most
Yeah.
opportunity to have a better life
Yes.
for
Or-
themselves and the
Yeah.
child. Yeah.
Better upgrade lifestyle. Another one of them is more capable of paying child support. So they want that one. This one I kind of didn't know about until I did my research, but it's called assisted reproductive technology fraud.
Yeah, that blew my mind.
So basically, women go to a sperm donating,
Like a sperm bank?
like a sperm bank, select the one they
The
want,
donor.
and then they get pregnant, and then they have relations with somebody else and say it's their kid, on purpose. So this is where the natural thing comes in, where the beta need comes from. So it's they want the alpha seed and the beta need. So they want the genetic
Material.
part of the man, the best one. That's the alpha, the looks and everything. But they want the beta to pay for it. So that's where the alpha seed and the beta need, or sometimes the alpha fucks and the beta bucks. So they have the best of two worlds. They have the genetic material of the alpha and have the beta support it. And that's the natural tendency. Some women do it unconsciously. And that's what they do. They sleep with the guy. Sometimes they can't control themselves. Oh, this guy's so hot. They sleep with them, get pregnant, and then they'll have the responsible beta because the beta will cater to her more because she's probably way better looking, can do better, but can't hold the alpha down. But she can have a beta provide her needs. So she gets the relationship she wants, but not with the guy she wants. So she'll settle for the beta to take care of her lifestyle.
And we had a video on that too.
Yeah,
So if you
where
guys want to check that
we have
out.
another video where that's what type of relationships women end up in. So after all that, that's kind of infuriating.
Depressing.
So it's like, how do you avoid this thing? So the best thing is prevention. So the best thing is never assume it's your kid. Always,
Get
you
tested.
can trust but verify, or just fuck it, don't trust, just verify.
Just verify. And
Just verify.
You can do it like as soon as the baby's born. If you don't want to talk to her to have it done, because I know that there's like that concern about when the child is still in the womb, there's like complications that are potential. So it's like as soon as that baby's out,
You
get it
gotta
done.
test it.
Get it
You
done.
gotta test it. So don't sign anything until you're sure. Sometimes, yes, you're gonna go through that hard things, but you gotta know if it's yours. And it's better to go through the trouble and then find out it's yours than go through the trouble not through the trouble and find out it's not yours.
Yeah, because
So-
to get your name removed from the birth certificate, you have to go to court for that too.
Yeah, so it's like girls are like, you got nothing to hide. I just want to be sure. And then you can always blame it on somebody. My mother says to get tested, she's not going to be happy.
She's not going to believe that's her grandchild.
Just blame it on your dad or your mom. They're like, they tell me to do this. I don't believe them. It's their idea, but cognito, you can go that way. So, or you can do what I did, just get a vasectomy, and you know no kid is yours. So you can do reversible vasectomy. So I recommend guys don't settle until their 50s, when they're all rich, old, and buff, and badass, and they have a lot of options. So you can do a reversible vasectomy, get it, and then when you're ready to have kids, you reverse it, and then you can have kids. That's one of them. So the big cost that comes into it is like, man, you get cheated. So a kid on average until they're 18 costs more than $250,000 to raise.
Wow.
So
That's a lot
that
of money.
sperm is expensive to just assume that it's yours. That's $250,000 plus all the headaches. So the cost is money. That's $250,000. A lot of time, a lot of energy, and a lot of attention. You have to pay attention to the kid. You have to pay attention to the girl. A lot of time and energy. And if you're doing child support, it's the whole thing. The biggest cost is two of them. The emotional attachment that you have with the kid to find out it's not yours. That's probably the worst. You fall in love with something that thinks it's your child, and then it turns out not to be.
Yeah.
Like that's the biggest heartbreak ever.
Especially when it's like really unforeseen, because you're like, he has my mannerisms, or she does. She's like a mini version of me. And then something happens, and you end up finding out that it's not yours. And it's like 10, 12 years down the road, you've already invested so much in that child. And you're like, but they're just like me. How is it not mine?
Because Sancho looks like you. She has a type. So that's the biggest one. Don't assume that just because it looks like you, it is yours. Believe it or not, she could be fucking your brother,
That's happening.
cousin, stuff. That happens. Sometimes that's what it is. Another thing is, the biggest one that I see is your opportunity cost. Because all that time, energy, everything that you invested in the wrong person, you cannot get those 18 years back. You can never get them back. You can never get the girl that you really wanted. You can never really have the kids that you really wanted at the time that you really wanted, if you wanted to, which I recommend you shouldn't. So all that opportunity, you're only young once. So once you start having kids and all that stuff, you're only live so many years. It's going to be taken because you couldn't dedicate that to another one, to another year. So that's like when girls and guys get divorced, the girls have to be compensated because why? Oh, it's because she dedicated her life to you and she didn't make a career. So her potential that she could have made something, instead of wasting your time with you and their divorce, that's why you have to give them a divorce settlement. Because basically it's an opportunity cost. She went with you and she could have chased a career and made money, so you had to reimburse her. The guys don't get reimbursed if they're not their kid.
No. Doesn't seem that way.
And if you get the wrong girl, you don't get reimbursed either, that she dragged you down.
And she doesn't pay any consequences.
Yeah, so the best thing is you don't prevent it. Don't get in that situation in the first place. Watch my other videos, how we recommend to do that. That's the biggest cost. Watch out, guys.
Absolutely.
I mean,
So just be careful.
it's a brutal world out there. So
Take care of
these are
yourselves.
the realities, these are the facts.